Welcome back to. Hold on, let me check if am I connected to the right mic? Yes, I am. Okay. Welcome back to a brand new live stream on the channel. Hope you guys are having a lovely weekend. Jobin, Jamie, Declan, Andy, Omar. Good to see everyone in the chat. The regulars. Hope you guys are having a good day, a good weekend. Now, since the last time I have been live, we have had quite a bit of data coming out, and we will go over the macro stuff as well. And I'll give some price predictions as well, what I think will happen over the next couple of weeks, months, and we'll talk about some top altcoins and some updates, and we'll go over some of the altcoins that you guys want me to review. So before we start, drop a like on your way in. I would appreciate subscribe if you are new here. I will be getting very active on YouTube again. I have taken a little break, but I think it's time to come back. Regular lives, regular streams, regular videos, and then I probably will do some tier lists again, updated tier lists, just because they are quite fun to do. But the last time we was live, I did say if Bitcoin cannot break out of this structure right here, so you guys can see it's very, very clear every single time Bitcoin wicked off this line, it would get rejected. And the last time we was live, I think it was around a week ago. So it was somewhere around here. We got rejected over here, and then, as I said, if we get rejected, the most likely place that we would land is the 111 to 113 region, and that's exactly what happened. Bitcoin came down to about 111, about basically 112, slightly below. But can we come back down and retest it one more time? It is possible. We could always get something like this, where we get a small little bounce, get rejected. You guys can see the bull market support band right now is what we need to break. If we cannot break the bull market support band, which is right here, so you guys can see we have been rejected of the first wick. Obviously, this is only the first wick. It will attempt again. This is a Sunday, so any pump in the markets or anything along those lines is manipulated. Even this move down here has been manipulated. It is just to liquidate all the longs. So there's a lot of longs on Ethereum, on BTC that's been piled up from the lows, before this major move. And those need to be liquidated, because before we can go higher, the market makers do not want people to make stupid amounts of money. So they will do, a bunch of liquidations. I think we had close to $1 billion liquidated just over the last couple of days. This is standard market manipulation. This was always going to be retested. So the Bitcoin chart does look very bullish. We had, this bullish formation. We broke out, and then came up here, got rejected. Well, not rejected, but this is where the top was. And then we came and retested the previous highs. So if you look at the previous highs, it was around the 112 to the one thingy region. We bounced off that. And now what will most likely happen is BTC will either continue back higher, or we'll probably hit the 115 region, get, put in the double bottom and then go higher. But this is all manipulation, by the way, guys. Do not get, shaken out. It's all manipulation. Yes, your altcoins have taken a decent amount of dump recently over the last week, I would say. But this is all part of the plan. This is nothing to be worried about at the moment. The macros is looking good. We'll go over some of the macro stuff. So unemployment numbers did come out, and it basically came in as expected. However, it came in, higher than what it was previously. So 2 months ago, we had unemployment numbers. It came in at 4%, but that was later revised to 4.1. And then after that, there was more revision where ADP, non-farm payrolls, they were revised to go, basically at almost zero. I think there was like a few thousand. So a lot of these jobs report got revised a lot lower than what it was. So last month, it said that we had 110k or whatever jobs. We ended up having 14k. That got revised back down to 14k, and they were expecting 110k. Instead, we got 73k. So there's a lot of weakness in the jobs market, and every single time there's a weakness in the jobs market and inflation is holding the line or steady, what you get is the market pricing in a rate cut in September. So just a few days ago, this actually was 60-40 in favor of no rate cuts, because after the FOMC meeting, the Fed was very hawkish, and that kind of wavered people's decision on whether they're going to get a rate cut in September or not. Then the jobs data came out, and it was very clear that we are going to get a rate cut in September. And the people that's been following me, I've been telling people for a very long time, just look at Trueflation. This is not rocket science. This is the easiest tool to use. These guys are very accurate, if not, they're very close, if not very accurate, to what the CPI and inflation numbers will come out. So you guys can see over here for yourself, right? In June, what happened was we had an increase in inflation. And then in July, we had a decrease, had a small little increase again at the 2%. We was chilling at the 2% region, and now inflation is at 1.6. So what this basically means for us is we get the data for, it's like 1 month apart. So in June, you'll get in July you'll get June numbers. So you guys can see, the previous data, inflation peaked at 2.2%, which is obviously higher than it was previously, and then it came back down. So what that means is, in August numbers, when August data comes out, inflation is going to come back down, and then when we get the data in September, inflation is going to come down again, because it came back down over here to 1.6, and then now is at 1.61. So it's coming down, and we're going towards the deflationary system. And I've been saying this ever since tariffs got implemented, because tariffs are deflationary, they're not inflationary. That's what Powell keeps saying. And a lot of people think Powell's not stupid. Obviously, he knows what he's doing. But these guys are noticeably trying to do a controlled demolition. They're trying to bring the markets down on purpose, because what they will do afterwards is obviously do mass printing. So inflation will come down this month in August when the numbers come out. Everyone's going to get excited. The market is most likely going to rally in August. The reason is because everyone would like to front run the rate cut that's coming in September. And very, very likely, because everyone is front running now, once the rate cut actually happens in September, you most likely will get some sort of mini dip after September. And then my base case at the moment is, it can obviously change as more and more data comes out as we get closer to November, December. I do think we will get some sort of blow off rally in November, December, and that will most likely mark the top for this cycle. That is my base case. We can obviously go into 2026 if the macros allow us, but for the next 4 to 6 months, I think the macros is looking okay at the moment. Inflation is coming down, unemployment's kind of weakening, which gives more room for rate cuts, but nothing is cracking in terms of on the surface. There's obviously a lot of stuff wrong with the system right now, but they're going to manipulate it, the data, the numbers, in order to make it seem like everything's okay. Like GDP came in at 3%. It was forecasted to come in at 2.7, but this is all bullshit. The reason GDP is going higher is because the government's spending a lot more. With the big beautiful bill, the deficit gets increased by 5 trillion. So that means they can print 5 more trillion to keep spending. And as a result, GDP goes up naturally. And obviously, Trump is bringing in a lot of investment, which also contributes in the private sector, which also increases GDP. So, overall, I think the Trump administration, apart from his tariffs and uncertainty, is causing for altcoins. I think overall, they're not doing as bad as people think, in terms of even though tariffs are just a tax hike for the average consumer, that's all it is. These countries are not paying for tariffs. Consumers are. That's all. And that's why inflation will not go higher. If everything becomes expensive, people just won't consume it because they can't afford to consume it. The average person right now is struggling, and they're not going to consume something that's increasing in price, and therefore inflation will not go up. Inflation will only go up if the economy is doing really well and people are feeling rich, which at the moment most people are not feeling rich. Is the Fed pivot pump incoming? I do think at some point this year, I think maybe it could happen in November, October times. I do think the Fed will end QT, and one of the main reasons I do think the Fed will end QT is because the long end of the yield curve, the 30-year, is very close to the 5% region. And one of the ways to bring this down is either to cut rates, because when this is high, mortgage rates, borrowing costs go higher. People become poorer because they can't refinance their house, or they can't sell their house because people. The thing is, like, people that bought houses 10 years ago, they don't want to sell it without some profits. And the people that want to buy houses now, is too expensive for them to buy. So you have this weird dynamic in the housing market, and that's why a lot of people are worried. Are lower rates. I don't think that's going to, help that much, in my opinion. There's other ways to bring the long end of the yield curve down. One of them is to pause QT for a bit. Pause QT, the long end of the yield curve will most likely come down like it has in the past. That is on the cards this year. I do think the Fed will have to end QT, especially when we're going towards a deflationary path. All that means is as we get closer to the 2% goal of the Fed, people are, they will have to stop QT because you're putting too much strain on the system by sucking liquidity out, when it's not needed because inflation is clearly being contained below 2%. Their goal is 2%. Inflation, true inflation is below 2%, which means very, very likely within the next 3 to 4 months, probably even sooner, we don't know yet. I do think this year the Fed will end QT and we will get our alt season or whatever alt season we get at the end of this year that everyone's waiting for. But I do think it will happen this year, and I've told you guys why. Long end needs to come down, and one of the ways to do it is to end QT. Liquidity is getting drained out of the system right now because the Fed is continuously doing QT. There's a lot of other issues that I will go over on another live stream in terms of the macros to why I think the Fed is likely to end QT. Tony, good to see you as well, my friend. Mr. Crypto, good to see you. Hype. Greek, good to see you, bro. Andreas, good to see you. Dave, good to see you, my friend. What do I think about Kokoro? I still hold my Kokoro. I got in quite early, but I have been adding slowly. But I am bullish on Kokoro. I think it will do okay. Kokoro is like one of those where if Ethereum does well, so will Kokoro. And I do think Ethereum will wake up. So I don't see why Kokoro will not do well. If Ethereum is likely to pump. But just like a lot of these meme coins, you have to see how good the community is. It is mostly dependent on community. A lot of these meme coins, if they have a big solid community, then it will do well. Sammy, good to see you as well, my friend. What of this three is better? Julius, Simple, Kako. I don't really like any of those, bro. I haven't really Julius is not too bad, but because they went through some sort of they basically launched a token on the platform and that token rugged, and the community got really pissed off and they sold the Julius. So they need something bullish to come out of that FUD, which apparently I heard that they have some big KOL backing them. So time will tell. But the other three I have not heard of. I haven't heard of the other three, and I don't think I can check it out because it's very unlikely it will be on CoinGecko yet. Oh, Kaiko's on here actually. Oh, Kaiko, this is the one that the House of Crypto was shilling. Pretty sure this is the one the House of Crypto was shilling. So EE protocol for agentic future. Look, right now, AI agents are not the hottest narrative. If you are holding AI agents, your portfolio is most likely going to be down because if you look at the AI agent category in general, a lot of them has been struggling, specifically the top ones. So if you go on AI agents, the most known AI agents are the Solana ones. And if you look at how they've been performing, in terms of, let me have a look at over here. These guys, look how much they're down, 22%, 11% on average, right? So Virtuals is down 23%, ASI is down 14%, AIXBT is down 20%. So a lot of these AI agents at the moment are struggling. Delicium's down 20%. Banker's been doing very, very well, and that's because it's been implemented with Coinbase, which is obviously going to push the price up. Power AI, Cookie, most of these AI agents have pretty much been getting, fucked recently. So at the moment, the AI agent narrative is not the strongest. There is obviously exceptions to the rules. You're always going to get a few that pump. Annie's pumping, Open Service pumping, Sensei's been pumping. Game on Virtual, anything on Virtual right now has been getting cooked. Look at Ava. Ava's down 25%. This is actually a good coin to trade, but this is down 28%. So a lot of these, Swarms are down 10%. AI Rig, this has been getting fucked. The likes of Grift, Sny, a lot of these ones have been getting cooked as well. So it is it is quite unfortunate. So a lot of these AI agents are getting cooked at the moment, but that's just how the market. That's based on the market conditions. I think right now, market conditions for AI agents, AI coins in general have not been performing that well. So at the moment, you rather wait for them to bottom out before adding. I would not be adding at the moment. What's going on with OORT? I don't know what's going on with OORT. Is it dumping again? Fuck, is dump. It's down 77% on the year, down 18% on the 7-day chart. Fuck knows, but I think people are just getting frustrated with OORT now, it seems. But they are doing their buybacks in the next week or two, so the price should go back up within the next 1 or 2 weeks. They're doing I think they're going to do a bigger round of buybacks this time. But all in terms of, what they've done is they've come out and said, so they did a letter for the people that hold OORT. They came out and said, over the past few weeks, we've seen some concerns and frustrations about OORT, the token. We understand where they're coming from and how it feels, especially for those who believe in our vision and support us along the way. We want to speak directly, share our blah, blah, blah. So they're talking about all the stuff, I think they realize now their marketing efforts and the money they've wasted on marketing, on articles and all this stupid shit, they're starting to realize that it's pointless. And they've kind of, they kind of moved into a Web3 style of marketing, which is, pay KOLs. So they've reached out to a bunch of KOLs and they're reaching out to more right now. They want to strengthen marketing, which is going to be their main goal, and global presence. But I think what they need to do is this here, right here. So to fix the tokenomics, exchange listings, and liquidity. So one of the things that a lot of people struggle with is either they don't have access to buy an OORT because it's a layer 1 and it's not listed on a tier 1 exchange in terms of US market, and the liquidity on the DEX is awful. So that's what they're looking to aim for first. So they're actively working with tier 1 exchanges for future listings. They're onboarding additional liquidity partners for improved depth, stability, and trading activity in August. So there's going to be a lot of stuff happening in August. They've got quite a few updates coming as well. So one of the things that's been happening with OORT, and the team has realized this, is they've wasted a bunch of money in like Web 2 style marketing, which no one really gives a shit in Web 3. People, I think they understand now that their target audience is DGen people, not 50-year-old who reads articles. It's DGen. Most people don't even read articles, especially in crypto. They look at the front page, they look at the website, and if there's big partnerships and there's big buzzwords, then very, very likely, they'll buy it. But the thing is a lot of this has to do with narratives rather than individual coins. I've just shown you guys most of these AI agents are putting in new lows and they're going to continuously going lower. It has nothing to do with those coins being scams or whatever. It's just liquidity is moving from one area of the market to another. And right now, RWA seems to be sucking a lot of liquidity. Meme coins is obviously always sucking liquidity, and AI coins in general have been struggling. You look at most AI coins, they're not going to be performing well over the last month or two. They're either putting in new lows and deepin coins specifically as well. I mean, one of the best deepin coins in the space is Peak, right? So Peak is a very good deepin coin, and this just almost put in a new low. So you look at the 3-month chart, look at this. It basically put in a new low. So the previous low was about, let's say, 5-6 cents. Just a few days ago, it broke that low and went slightly lower to about 5.5 or whatever the fuck it is at the bottom. But you can't really show you, but this is not an alt problem. It is the general deepin narrative problem. Peak is a big one. Some of the other ones, just look at any deepin coin in the space. Majority of them are either dumping. I mean, TIE is another deepin coin. This is down significantly. And, this is where marketing can help, but also does not help as well. Because you look at TARS AI, this is one of those projects that has, in terms of KOLs, they have one of the, I think they have the most KOL in the space, because at one point, every single influencer was talking about this project. Even this is down 30% on the 30-day chart. So like I said, it's not an individual coin problem, but there is a lot of issues that all needs to fix. And I think one of the biggest is obviously marketing, which is what they're working on at the moment. So yeah, it's going to probably dump. It'll just let it bottom out. I wouldn't add to it now. Let it bottom out. Once it bottoms out, then slowly DC. But they are doing a buyback this within the next 1 to 2 weeks. So you are going to see between a 15 to 20% pumping up. Because every buyback does that. It doesn't need a lot of money to pump it. That's the thing. Is Creedify token returned to its old price? Creedify, I used to hold Creedify actually. I don't think it's a bad project. Has it returned to its old price? Probably has. I wouldn't be shocked if it has. The whole market is either putting in new lows or yeah, Creedify is basically back down almost to the previous lows. That's crazy. That is. It's almost back down to to hold on. Let me see. Yeah, it's almost back down to 2023 levels, which shows how fucked the altcoin market is at the moment. It is tough for alts right now. I'll be honest. Doesn't matter what alts you're holding. There is some that's doing better than others, but a majority collectively they're all struggling right now. And that's because the money at the moment is in ETH and BTC. That's where the money is going. Price to buy Solana. What price shall I sell XRP? I'll probably sell XRP between $4 to $5. I think that's a reasonable level to sell XRP. I think if you think you're waiting for $10, it's not going to happen because XRP is one like the third biggest crypto in the space. So I personally, if I was holding XRP now, I probably would have already sold it. If you got in here between 35 cents to 50 cents, I would have sold it already personally. It's up to you though, but you know, how high can this go? Between $4 to $5 max. That would be my base case, $4 to $5 max. Price to buy Solana. I think now is a good time to DC into Solana, my friend. I bought some Solana a few days ago. Yesterday, just for a quick trade. The reason is because Solana will always pump. The market comes down. So you see, every time it comes down, I use it as a trade. Solana comes down and goes back up very quick. You know, you can put a large amount of money into it, get like a 20-30% pump or 15 to 20% pump, and you can make some good returns on it. Mugen, good to see you, brother. Buzz, good to see you as well, my friend. What do I think about my port? I plan to buy a huge bag of OORT Sensei. What do you think about my plan? I bought a huge bag of OORT Sensei, ATR Nye, prop base, Chirply, Brick and Nye to buy more OTK. Look, I wouldn't focus too much on gaming at the moment. You know, you want to buy gaming when there's some sort of collective hype on gaming. At the moment, there is no collective hype on gaming. You know, you can obviously always buy little bags, and forget about it. That's what I've done with gaming. I've just bought my bags, I've put them in a separate wallet, and I don't even look at them. You know, they fluctuate. Like Naka fluctuates between 30 to $1. OTK at the moment is fluctuating between 0.09, so almost 1 cent, to 0.03. Snift has been in the same region for the last 3-4 months now. So I personally would not focus too much on gaming, especially if you're trading. If you're holding them, on the hopes that what's it called, gaming comes back, is worth the gamble, because in my opinion, at least it is. I would probably dedicate a very small percentage of my portfolio in gaming, because if any narrative is going to give you the most returns this cycle, and if it comes back, is most likely going to be gaming, just because almost every single gaming project is down between 95 to 99%. Most of them are majority. I would say between 99% of them are. It's like the beams and the supers, they're doing okay, but the rest of them are getting fucked. So I wouldn't focus too much on gaming, my friend. I would focus more on AI and RWA. Complete good to see as well. I would not get excited until ETH enters 4K range. Yeah, I think ETH next move will be 4K. And the thing is with ETH is if he can break 4K, he will be very bullish. However, there's going to be a lot of psychological level of 4K. I think it'll be quite difficult to break 4K, just because there's a bunch of people waiting to sell at 4K. So let's see how it goes. Hold $42K Keycat, AKO, 4K props, 12K analog, 2K hippo, 2K PQ forts. I think that's a pretty decent portfolio, my friend. I would look to get another RWA coin. I think you got a few memes, but I would definitely get one more RWA coin. I wouldn't put that much money in analog, especially being a low cap. I'd rather put a lot of that money into an RWA coin, because then you have to look at narratives, my friend. Narratives at the moment is RWA. You look at most RWA coins on the previous dip, they held the best. They didn't want to dump. Some of them even rallied. Like ATR rallied while the market was dumping, which is a good sign. It means people are not dumping their bags and new buyers are stepping in. So, in the last 7 days, this is what this is doing. It's in the same range, while majority of altcoins are down 20-30%. So I would look to get another RWA coin. Props is good, but I would definitely, increase my RWA bags, my friend. Pip, good to see as well. Build the ultimate high conviction portfolio from it needs 20x recover private losses and build build the ultimate high conviction portfolio going forward. It needs 20x to recover from prior losses and push into profits. Total budget 20k. You want a 20k portfolio, my friend? First things first, what I will do is 20x is not going to be easy. If you want 20x, you either going to have to catch something new, that's just come out and is hype around it, or you could go for the safe option, get some RWA coins like Propbase. Propbase is going to have a very bullish month. One of the main reasons is because they are starting a marketing campaign this month. So they got 4 major events. One of them is, they got the bridge to ETH, which is coming week 1. They got a top 10 listing. They got a 4th asset, which is another property. And then week 4, they got a strategic listing as well. So they got 2 exchange listings coming, a new property, and then extra bridges to a new chain, which is obviously going to increase the holders. Most RWA coins are on ETH, so I don't say why they wouldn't want to get on ETH, but key growth since launch. So the 4th product's live on the mainnet. This is basically what they've accomplished. They have over 60k holders, and their goal is to get to 100k by the end of the year. And that's why they have one of the biggest communities in RWA and in crypto in general. In terms of low caps, I think this props community is one of the biggest. There's no doubt about that. So quite a lot of, this is some impressive things coming. So ETH access, secured layer 0 CertiK, proof demand, so 20k base, ETH next, so that's going to probably increase it as well. Multi-chain Aptos, base, Ethereum, they're going to get on Solana next as well. Boost, ecosystem boost, more DeFi, more liquidity, which is obviously very, very good. Week 2 is exchange listings, marketing campaigns, visibility, exposure, millions of global users, new holders, trust, whatever. Basically have a lot of good stuff coming. So I think it's going to be a very good month for prop base, specifically this month. Get some prop base, get some brick in, get some ATR, my friend, get some Rio. Rio's not looking bad either. They're all at the range lows, so you're getting a very good buying opportunity as well. Get some, in terms of AI, get some NAI. NAI has recently released some, get some StateX as well. I'll speak about StateX in a second, but they've released their mainnet, which is the Nexus. This is basically what everyone was waiting for. NAI up until now has all been speculation and hype, etc. But they finally managed to actually release a product, which is a very, very good product. It's live now. People can test it out. And I think, once people realize how good the product is and more projects onboard it, they build new partnerships, they generate more revenue. And I think 25% of that revenue gets into buying back and burning the token. So that's always very good. That's what they've been developing now, and it's at the lows now as well. So get some NAI. NAI is very good. Sensei is good. OORT is going to have a decent month in August. I think, the thing with OORT is once it has that initial pump, you're going to see a lot of FOMO. But up until that pump happens, people are going to be speculative, which is, I understand that. That's how it is. If the coin has not been pumping, everyone gets a bit frustrated. They either sell their bags and move on, or they hold and get frustrated. That's basically what's happening. But all it needs is a 30-40% pump, and you're going to see a lot of FOMO coming back in. So that's, just wait for the buybacks. Every time the buyback happens, we always see a pump. So there is a pump coming very soon. How could you check? It's fun. Is it a scam project legit? They're building the world's largest data center. It's on base. I have heard it's fun. I don't know if they are building the world's largest thingy, because you can't really build the world's largest data center when you're competing with some of the biggest data centers in the world. So I don't really believe any of that shit. It's all bullshit. 9 times out of 10, it's all bullshit. I don't think they probably have even a single HPC system, a GPU system. So these cost millions of dollars. So unless these guys have managed to raise millions of dollars, in actual assets, machines, then how can they build the world's largest, data center. It's all bullshit, bro. I don't think these guys have raised a single penny. Yeah, this just looks like Web3 projects. Data center is not cheap. To get one of these machines, it costs a lot of money. So unless they're renting it or something, I don't know. Oh, I'm getting a message. Yeah, I don't believe this, my friend. I don't think these guys are building the world's largest data center because you would need millions and millions of dollars to do that. And I don't think, considering they don't even have a docs team by the looks of it, I just wouldn't trust it, bro. Like, let me check. Company, contact us, foundation. Let's have a look here. If they're claiming to build the world's largest something and it doesn't even have a docs team, the most basic thing, how and why would you trust it? So I don't believe this at all, my friend. But it could run when deepen runs, but that's about it. Could you consider cubic deflation in mass supply with halving coming up? Can you reconsider cubic? I'm not gonna reconsider cubic, bro. Like cubic's not a fucking micro cap for me to buy. Like even if they do whatever, it's not gonna make me much money, my friend. So I'm not gonna reconsider cubic. I don't think cubic is a bad project, but it's 329 million market cap. For this market cap, me personally, I would rather buy something like AFA or IONIT. Why? Because they're established and they generate revenue. If I'm going to hold a mid cap, I want to hold it for, at least a cycle or two. So, why would I buy that when I can buy IONIT, which is 3 times lower in market cap, has a very established GPU, CPU marketplace where they generate, tens of millions. Why would I buy a cubic, which probably generates nothing and probably selling tokens to generate that money when I can buy IONIT that's, generating tens of millions in revenue? But Cubic's not a bad project, it has good marketing and good hype, etc. But I don't think Cubic will be anything special next cycle. Either I don't even think it'll survive next cycle. I appreciate it, bro. If Powell in September, macro data, tariffs, economy is good. Economy is not in a good condition, but they've masked it well to make it seem like it's in good conditions. But eventually it will crack. You can't mask something forever. You're going to see cracks. Like already we're seeing signs of unemployment cracking. What's your thoughts on DMC? I don't think DMC is that bad. I would rather wait for it to bottom out, my friend. It is new, but I like the concept. I think it's not bad. I just wouldn't buy it now because it doesn't look like it's bottomed out yet. It most likely can go lower. But it's on Sui. I think Sui can do well, and the ecosystem will do well. Have OTK Beam Naka. Thoughts on rotating some of this into other coins? Thoughts, please. I don't think it's a bad move, but at the same time, you don't want to completely get out our narrative because, like I said, if gaming comes back, that's probably going to be your top performers in your whole portfolio, just because they're down so much. So I wouldn't take the risk. Naka holds up very well. Look at the Naka chart; it's been in the same range for the last 5 months. So if you've been buying it recently, it's not like you're losing out on anything. It's been in the same range for the last 3 months. I mean, just look at it. It's in the same range, goes up, comes down. In the last year, it's been in the same range since pretty much March, which is acceptable. I mean, every single project kind of looks like this. So I wouldn't say it's doing anything out of, it's basically been in the same range, my friend. And, it could always pump back up to $1.75 and you can make some decent money on it. Gradient is not a bad trade in the short term. They have, I don't know why, but these like weird, shitty Ethereum coins get the hype from the likes of Becca and some of these other ones. They have a solid community, but you can always pump a few X's, of course. But unless this has some real product, I don't really think it's going to do anything sufficient. But if you got in early, you've made some good money. But you got to keep in mind, guys, projects like this that's given some very, very good returns. Some of these guys are insiders. They get in, like the KOLs you're talking about on Twitter. They get in early and then they shit it nonstop as they slowly sell. You got to keep that in mind. These KOLs are shilling some of these coins that are pumping. If something has pumped this much, You know, it went from, I don't know, 10 cents to 160. That's 16x, right? If something is shilling you a coin at 16x up, they want exit liquidity. It's not really that hard to understand. They want exit liquidity. So I would be very, very careful buying this. It's still very low in cap, obviously, but we got to see the averages of some of these guys that are shilling it. If they get in very early and they're shilling it, because he hasn't really done anything since June. It's just been stuck in the same range. There's not a lot of hype behind it, but there is. I have seen quite a few shillers talk about this though. This kind of market is not for the weak, but this type of market is very stressful, especially if it's your first cycle. And your portfolio will go up a few grand, 10 grand, depending on the size of your portfolio, 1 month, and then come down 5 to 10 grand the next month. It's quite stressful. It just makes you think like, oh, should I trade? Should I trade? My portfolio's up 10k. If I traded and bought it back lower, I could have doubled my bag, etc. That's always going to be running on your mind. But at this stage of the cycle, when we are towards the end of the cycle, I don't really recommend going towards that trading path. It could work out. In hindsight, it's always going to be easy to know. However, I just personally would not take that risk, because let's say this was the blow off top pump coming. Let's say it happens in August and you've just traded your bag. What happens then? You've traded your bag, everything explodes, and you just sat there. You just wasted 4 years of your life, for like a 20-30% pump or 2x pump, but then everything else does a 5, 10, 15, 20x afterwards. So I personally do not like playing the trading game. That the way that I sustain my greed with the trading stuff is, I have cash on the side that I trade with, that I make money with, and then that way I don't feel the need to trade my long-term bags, because that's what a lot of people want to do. They want to trade the long-term bags and wish it goes lower and buy back lower. But at this stage of the cycle, I think it's quite difficult to do that. I don't think it's worth the risk to reward ratio is not worth, because let's say the market pumps, like I said, you wasted 4 years of your life, which I don't think is worth. August, run September. I think likely yes. I have a good suggestion for OORT team long way holders, 5% airdrop like StateX are doing. I have a good suggestion for OORT team. Give all long-term holders 5% airdrop. I don't think they'll do that, bro. Are very unlikely to do that. Speaking of StateX, they've just partnered up with Amelia branded results, which is very, very good. This is massive. They've also got a surprise listing coming as well. They haven't announced it, but they do have an exchange listing coming as well, which you guys can see now. So surprise exchange listing coming this week. I don't know what listing is going to be. I did see Bybit accumulate this, but they've recently said to wait. They've got a few issues that they need to fix out first before they actually, to do the listing. So it's all about a waiting game now for a lot of these RWA coins. I do think a lot of these RWA coins will blow up. It's just a matter of when it will blow up. I think this season is RWA season. What the fuck? Yo, I got Ben Cowan over here. All season starts as soon as my hairline reaches full Dracula. Yo, that's hilarious. I don't think that's too far away though. I think Ben Cowan's hairline isn't too far away from being Dracula status. I'm a small crypto guy. Good to see you, Emilio. I'm running out of time. DCA small amounts into my conviction. How much time do you think we will have to DCA before old season takes off? I think you probably have, this buying opportunity that we had yesterday is definitely a very good buying opportunity in general. So you did have then to accumulate. Look at this dip. This was a very fantastic dip. You had this very bullish formation, broke out, came and retested the formation, and then went higher, which, we're in the process of going higher right now. We have to see how the market opens tomorrow, because like I said, there's been a few bullshit. Trump is doing tariffs. He's talking about fucking start a nuclear war with Russia. He's doing a bunch of retarded stuff. But now everyone knows rate cuts are coming. I don't think the smart investors are going to really sell. During this whole dump, even though Ethereum dumped from here to here, which is like a 12% drop, the BlackRock ETF did not sell a penny, which is always good to see. But they did sell a decent amount of Bitcoin, and that's because Bitcoin is obviously a lot higher than Ethereum. I don't know about the order. I don't know if we're going to pump that much, but I think RWA season is this year, and then we'll most likely get an AI pump, and then maybe just maybe we might walk away with a gaming pump at the end. That's what I think. I think RWA first, and I think RWA will be the biggest narrative. Just like AI agent was the biggest narrative last year, I think RWA will be the biggest narrative this year. So let's see. Altcoin season starts. What do I think is a better option? Props or stay text? I think both of them are really good. Would I go one for the other? I would go 50-50 in both, in my opinion, because they are both at a very similar market cap, which, if you look at props to StateX props is very established, whereas StateX is brand new, but has all the hype around it because it has all these big KOLs, it has, all the backends. And props is been established. They have a way bigger community, I think, than a StateX, specifically, on Twitter. I would go 50-50, to be honest. I don't think you should pick one over the other because I think both of those will perform really well. Blockstreet is the coin. Yeah, Blockstreet is not bad. Blockstreet is not bad. It's a good coin to trade as well. I like Cpool. I have an iffy feeling about checks, bro. Like, I do like Cpool. I think Cpool will do very well. It has all the exchanges and volume, but there's something about checks that just throws me off. Like, there's something I don't trust about it. I don't know if it's the fake volume. I mean, a market cap of this size, I think should have a little bit more volume. I just don't. If there's not this much volume, there's not a lot of institutional, interest in this project. So, especially being a mid cap, I'd rather go with Cpool over checks personally. As a mid cap, Cpool is a lot safer and a lot better and a lot more established as well. Checks is just iffy. There's something off about this coin. I don't really want to buy it personally. How to approach this cycle? Consensus was this cycle was too early. Q4 macro rate cuts postponed. Should we? My friend, rate cuts are not postponed. Rate cuts are happening. Pedos everywhere. I thought of your thoughts on Athena. Yeah, Athena is a very solid high cap. Athena, good to see you as well, bro. Means consolidate, not dumping, dude. That would generally be a good thing. Means it's consolidating, not dumping. Yeah, also true as well. Landau, what the fuck is that? Trump says 6-7 months will be boom, meaning blow off topping it out. I don't know if it will take 6-7 months. It could. Like, Trump can't predict what's going to happen. Obviously, he can lead it a certain way. The Trump administration, I think, in terms of the macro side, they're not doing a bad job, despite the tariff bullshit and uncertainty that caused with altcoins. But as like a macro and economic perspective, they're not doing that bad. It's just simple stuff like this, like what Besson is doing now. The TGA account at the Fed, instead of filling this up aggressively, which obviously drains liquidity out of the system. So every single time the TGA account gets refilled, most of the money that gets refilled has to be paid by banks, and it just sucks liquidity out of the system. However, when it gets re-injected, it adds liquidity to the system. So you guys can see we had this big injection over here of 900 million. They started to get used, it got drained, and then now they've added it back in. But normally what they do is they add in very aggressively and you get a dump in the markets. What Besson is doing now is he's filling the TGA account very slowly, which, it gives the market a bit more time to actually pump. If they did this way, where, they just filled up aggressively, and then consolidated, everything would have dumped. The market would have took a massive hit because, like I said, it drains liquidity out, and it does that, it's fucked. So, I do like what Besson's doing. He clearly understands TGA account. They used quite a decent amount of that money. Now they need to refill it at the Fed, but he's doing it slowly, which is good. It gives us a few more months in the market. And then you look at the repo account, this is almost zero. And this is another reason why I think the Fed will end QT this year. The last time this was zero was in the 2019 to 2020 times. That's when this reached pretty much zero. I think this is on route to reach zero very, very soon, probably over the next couple of weeks or a couple of days even, this will reach zero, and it will put a lot more pressure on the Fed to actually end QT. So this is definitely good to see. Obviously, it's not good in that sense, but it is good for QT ending, which is what we want as altcoin holders. We want QT to stop. What about fund CDFI? I would skip anything to do with launchpads right now, my friend. Launchpads are not the play right now. Anyone smart is not buying or getting into launchpads. Minty Cope, in your opinion, which one should I accumulate more? Depends on your risk tolerance, my friend. I just don't. If you want high risk, high reward, very high risk, you can go with Munity. If you want a little bit more less risk, but still high risk, go with Copo. Munity is like 100K market cap. 100x will put it at 10 million, which is very easy to do in a gaming run. Copo is still getting fucked as well. So Copo is in the same boat. I don't know how low Copo. Copo is probably like $1 million or $2 million. Well, 4 million. So it's a little bit more safer. And you look at the chart. Chart's a little bit better. It's been kind of in the same range for the last 3 months. It's kind of chilling here for a bit. Just wait for this to bottom out. There's no rush to buy gaming coins right now, my friend. Bossman, good to see you, bro. Just bumping my message in case you missed it. Good to see you, Bossman. How you been, bro? Long time no see. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Could you give us some solid RWA coins, our own state takes? I would like some other ones. Yeah, so my friend, if you want some solid RWA coins, the number one and my favorite on the list is Bricken. Bricken is like an API for tokenization in general. So these guys have established a method to tokenize, and that's the APY. They have a decent amount tokenized already. They have over 300 and I think 400 million tokenized in total, but the TVL, on-chain TVL is almost 40 million. I think this will get to 50 million by the end of the year. 35 million. The market cap is only 30 million. So it already shows how established it is and how undervalued it is, because you look at the TVL and the market cap ratio. Keep in mind, most of the early investors in this token's out. I think all early investors are out. There's not really much old investors that will dump on you. It's all, this needs to be updated. I don't think they've looked into updating it, but it's a slow release over multiple years, so you're not really going to see too much dilution. But this is a very undervalued token, in my opinion. Chart looks very good. It holds up very well. It pumps very well every time the market gets bullish. Another one on the list, as I said, is PropBase. This is another one that I would definitely look to accumulate. PropBase, very solid, well established, very low market cap as well, but it has very good volume. This is one of the main things I like about PropBase is you can go a little bit heavier in PropBase because there's so much volume coming in, which is very bullish. There's a lot of liquidity. It means whales can buy in as well. You can also buy, PropBase is tokenized real estate on Aptos and other chains as well now. But these guys focus on, that they have a very established product because they've already tokenized free assets, hotels, big hotels already, and they got their fourth one this month as well. So, and then the next one I would say is ATR. ATR fundamentally strong, community is solid, very solid use case. You can look at a chart, a very good coin to trade. You guys can see how aggressively it moves. Pumps 2x comes down. Very good coin to trade. Pumps 3x comes down. Pumps 2x comes down. The next pump, in November, December, it pumped almost 7x, which is, fairly wild considering it wasn't really an RWA hype. It was more AI agents, which is always positive to see. So I would definitely, those four are my favorite. StateX, I do like Rio as well, but if you had to pick four, I'll probably go with these four. Low cap, high risk, high reward. Well, I wouldn't say high risk. I would say low risk, but high reward as well. Yeah, I don't know. It will definitely push mortgage rates lower, but it's not going to make houses cheaper though. It will definitely make mortgage rates lower. But in terms of like properties and people can't buy properties and they can't afford it, very likely, rate cuts, whatever, it's not really going to affect on that side. Am I bullish on Zora? No, I'm not bullish on Zora, bro. Zora's on-chain metrics to the pump made no sense, which means that it is a manipulated pump. to bring the volume and the focus on base. A lot of these exchanges do this. So what do Binance do? When Binance wants people to come to the BNB chain, what they do is they pump one token. It doesn't matter what it is, they pick what token they want to pump. It's random, could be a meme coin, could be a utility coin, no one knows, right? So they pump a certain token, and then if it pumps a lot of the focus goes on that ecosystem. So because maybe Coinbase definitely was involved in this, they wanted the base ecosystem to do well, and guess what? They pumped Zora. The on-chain metrics did not match up to the pump. There's barely any holders. The on-chain metrics is off to how much is pumped. Is an artificial pump to bring more people on the base ecosystem. That is all it is. BNB does it, Solana does it, all of these guys do it. They pump one token that they pick, they do a bunch of manipulation, and then once that coin pumps, everyone focus on on that ecosystem, and that's how we got Zora. So I'm not bullish on Zora at all. The platform is very basic. It's like what we had with Believe Coin, on what's it called? This one right here. On is it Believe on Base? What the fuck is this? Is this a new one? But it's very similar to what we had on Believe on Solana over here. Very, very similar concept. This is how the meme coin shit works. The money will flow from Base to Solana to Bonk to Ethereum. That's all, that's how it is. The money will, in the trenches, the money will flow from place to place to place. You just have to, front run which place is going to go next. So because Base has been the talk of the town, or the most liquidity is going to Base, position in Solana now. The money is most likely going to pump in Solana next, is going to be injected in Solana. And that is because maybe the Solana fund's coming out in a few days, and that could definitely bring some volume back into Solana. I don't participate in anything staking. I just don't see worth the money. Like, if I got a large portfolio, I would never ever risk it in staking or yield farming. I don't see the point. It's not worth. If you got a smaller portfolio and you're willing to take the risk to generate, because you're never ever going to generate anything crazy on this yield farming. And if they offer you large amounts of APY, you should run away from that platform, because it's most likely either a scam or there's no one utilizing it. So if you see a DeFi coin or a low cap coin offering you 2, 3, 4, 500 API, you should never ever touch it, because that's most likely a scam. How do I see TARS AI? I think TARS will do all right. They got all the fundamentals to pump. They got the marketing. Just wait for it to bottom out. It hasn't bottomed out yet, in my opinion. What meme coins would you buy if you had extra bag of 10K, due to the fact that retail don't care about utility and memes is hot narrative of like SPX real? I would not be buying SPX, bro. I just don't see the point. Like, why would you buy SPX? Knowing it's at the all-time highs. I just don't think this is going to give you much returns moving forward. I'll hold this back. I bought it yesterday for a trade, but I don't think it's worth it. If you want to get a good meme coin, get some Migos or something, bro. Migos is pretty decent. Get one on Base, one on Solana, one on Bonk, and then get one on Ethereum. That's what I would do. If you had 10K spare to do with that, I would rather do that. Or just get an RWA coins, because RWA coins performing well as well. But the type of return that you want on meme coins, you're not gonna get it with these old meme coins, bro. They just move like utility coins. The type of returns you think that you want on these meme coins, boss man, is you have to get them on brand new meme coins. And the reality is, you go on coin what's it called, Deck Screen and Bonk and all these stuff. By the time you find out about any of these meme coins, they've already pumped significant amounts, and there's no point in getting in. So that, the likely chances of you finding the next big meme coin, unless you're an insider or some big KOL, you're not gonna find it. Let's be honest. It's like with meme coins, anyone can really do it. You just chuck, 10 dots at our board, maybe 1 or 2 will stick, and then that's it. That's how it is. In the trenches, it's all a numbers game. If you throw out enough numbers, 1 or 2 will land. That's basically how it works. It's gambling. There's no skill to trenching unless you have insider. You get into random pictures. You don't know who the dev is. You don't know who the person is making these coins. You don't know. You don't know anything. All you know is the narrative bullish? Is there like some sort of story behind it? That's all it is. It's all gambling. You don't know which one's gonna pump. So I would be careful, playing with meme coins unless, like for example, look at Mr. Migos, right? It's established meme coin, but this pumps like any other utility coin. From the lows, it pumped about 2.5x. There's so many utility coins that's pumped 2.5x the last, since the lows in June. So it's not really worth, in that sense, like you're saying, no one cares about utility. You're just not picking the right utility coin. There's plenty of utility coins that pump just like these meme coins. Cola pumps 2 to 3x every single time. This pumped pretty decent. It's a good coin to trade. I've been trading this for multiple times now. Sensei, ATR, Bricken, a lot of these coins move in the markets. You have to pick the right utility. You have to move the utility coins that move fast. There's slow moving utility coins that go up slowly, but then they can explode. And then there's other utility coins where, they'll move aggressively, but it's hard to find those because no one really looks in the utility space. Or you can go trenching, do some trenching. You can always find some low cap Solana coins that's like 100k liquidity and they can pump 2 to 3x. But just get established memes, but established memes move the same as like liquidity coin in terms of utility coins, in my opinion. Unless they have some sort of big listing. So if Mr. Migos gets a Coinbase listing, it's gonna pump a lot more than what it has, the last couple of months. Like, what's the difference between this and ATR? It's not much difference. Looks exactly the same as the ATR. One's a meme, one's a utility. Look at that chart, and then look at this chart. Look at that. Looks exactly the same. Pump down, little pump. Look at the difference. It's exactly the same. So when you're talking about there's no interest in utility coins, and there's the narratives are hot memes, you're not gonna catch that hot meme. It's impossible unless you're an insider or some big KOL that's being paid to shit. That's how it works. It's literally gambling. There's a meme coin out every 10 minutes, probably every 5 minutes. How do you know that one that you buy into is going to be the next big one? It's impossible to know. So it's like just in a casino, but you're just throwing darts at the board and hoping one lands. Doge Sheep went from 40 million to, yeah, but that's different scenarios though. Doge Sheep was the first ever meme coin, and they blew up, and it was in mass QE. There's a big difference, my friend, compared to the likes of SPX. You're comparing two different markets. It's like at that point there was only two meme coins, Sheep and Doge. Now there's millions of meme coins. So how is XPX gonna compete with 1 to 2, 3 million other meme coins? Liquidity is gonna get spread amongst them. Whereas Sheep and Thingy and Doge, there was only two, so the liquidity can only go in either or. And at that point, as I said, they printed trillions of dollars. They're not doing that now. They're sucking liquidity out, and people are not risk on at the moment. So I don't really understand. It's not a good comparison. It's definitely a culty token in terms of there's massive community, but community don't matter because you're competing with millions of other meme coins. Just like SPX has a culty community, so does Pepe, so does the other high cap meme coins. You can't out cult another one. Every big high cap has a cult community. Casper has a cult community. XRP has a cult community. Much bigger than SPX. Fucking ADA got a cult community. Cult community doesn't really mean that much anymore because there's thousands and millions of meme coins, that have cult communities. So yeah, I get your point, but I'm not complaining about the chart, bro. Chart looks great. Chart don't matter though, does it? Chart only matters for new investors if they're buying the top. Like, why would you want to buy this top? Doesn't make sense. I hold this token and I'm not shitting it, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like I got in at 40, sold around here, and I got in again yesterday. But that's for a quick trade. Like, bro, I don't think you understand basic market cap stuff. Yes, this is 1.5 trillion, but the reason Doge and Sheeb and all these other ones came in is because back in those times there was, the record levels of retail here, and there was only two to pick from. It was either you get into Doge because of Elon Musk, or you get into Sheep. That's it. Now when retail come in, they have millions of meme coins to choose from. How do you know they're going to pick SPX? Some might, others will pick other things, and others will pick other things. They'll pick the dogs, the cats. That's how it is. So you're thinking in a one-dimensional way, and it's not healthy to think like that. Like the fact that you think SPX can go to 40 billion and 88 billion like Doge and Sheep did, you're most likely going to become a bag holder, my friend. Very, very likely. You can't compare previous cycles to this one because we're in QT and this is at all-time highs, bro. Like you're thinking like Casper. When Casper was at 20 cents, everyone thought it was going to go to $5. Look at Casper now. Does it look like anyone's predicting $5 anymore? They're not. And this is still, look at the market cap is still 2.2 billion. Over here, everyone was predicting, fucking, I don't know, some stupid numbers. $5, $3. Yeah, because look how nice that chart looked. But you gotta keep in mind, as soon as Murad even sells a penny, you're gonna see the fastest drain ever, especially in this. So I'll be very, very careful, my friend, because Murad is not gonna hold this all the way down into the bear. As soon as he sells profits or takes profits, everyone's gonna panic and take profits, and then what happens is you cause panic selling. Everyone's gonna panic to sell. So I would be very, very, and he's made it very clear that he's gonna sell at the end of the year. Like I said, as soon as he sells, it's over for this coin. This coin does not have enough liquidity to absorb the 30, 40 million, whatever he has in his portfolio. It's gonna be impossible for him to even sell half of that. What about Gains? I think Gains is a scam, bro. Gains is one of the biggest scammers in the space. I would be very careful. Casper smart contracts coming 31st of August. Thoughts on it? I don't really. If it comes, I'll be, But the thing is, like, smart contracts is good and all, but if no one builds on your chain, then what good use is smart contracts? There's plenty of layer ones with smart contracts. Is anyone going to build on Casper? That's the thing. Is only time will tell, Mr. D, because if no one, even if, like I said, even if they have smart contracts, if no one ever builds on Casper, what's the point? They can have small contracts or whatever. It makes no difference if no one builds on them. If no good projects, develops on Casper that becomes relevant, then it's all pointless. They'll probably launch their own little tokens on there, to incentivize other people to do it. But the reality is, I don't really see anyone building on Casper. Personally, I don't see the point. But they have good and impressive fingers though, like speeds and other stuff. But it all depends on if people build on you or not. Like you need an ecosystem to be considered a solid layer one. Like what does Casper have? Nothing. They don't even have nothing. It's all hype and speculation. It went from being the best layer one to being the silver of crypto. And the reason they pivoted to silver of crypto is because very simply they couldn't build smart contracts. So if it does come, we'll have to see if people build on it first. If the people build on it and there's a massive ecosystem, then you could do well. But it's going to be a slow climb though. Do I like Aero price? I do like Aero, yeah. I actually bought some Aero. Like the chart for Aero looks very bullish. As long as Aero can hold, this it's in a very, you see this little formation that it's in now. It's in a very, very bullish formation. You guys can see. So if you put a line here, it's bounced off that line every time. So if we, if we get another bounce, maybe it comes down to retest one more time and then go higher. That's a confirmation to get into Aero. But I do like Aero. I hold a position in Aero myself. I think you like Redstone as a 100k market cap. Do like 50k. I do like Redstone. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. Redstone as like an Oracle, as like an RWA coin. I think as a mid cap is very very good because people don't realize, and I don't think they've done the research on Redstone, but all of the tokenization that happens on securities, which is basically the platform for BlackRock, they get all the data from Redstone. Securities and Redstone has a very, you know, secure partnership. So all the numbers, all the data they use, all because this is Oracle, right? So for those that don't know oracles, it's like the data place for everything, like the chain links. So this is a chain link of RWA, you could say, and it, you know, is very established because you got the same company that tokenizes for BlackRock is using their Oracle, the data system, which is very very impressive. So very very undervalued in my opinion as a mid cap. Vesting is very good. It's one of my favorites mid caps, and I've been accumulating this slowly. If I can ask you, explain more about crypto gains, he's a scammer just because I've been watching some of his videos and thinking I'm gonna lose my time watching. Bro, listen, the last thing you want to do, my friend, is watch crypto gains, bro. Like, it's very. I'll explain it to you very simply, right? It has different tiers in his private group. So you pay a large amount of money, he'll give you the call first, and then you pay the second largest amount of money, you get the call after that. So what it is just like the people that pay the most money get in first, then they gives the buy alert to the people below them, and then they pump the token. The people that got in early, they dump, and then it just goes down the chain, and they all just end up dumping on each other. Then he makes a video, and then you, as a retail, someone who's joined crypto recently, you watch his channel because when you look at for 50 or 100x or whatever, he's like somehow he's the first channel you see. So you click on his channel, you think, oh, this coin has 100x, and then 2 days later he rug pulls because, and what he does is he makes the meme coins himself and holds a majority of the supply, 60-70% of the supply, and then he slowly sells. By the time one meme coin is done, he'll walk away with like 40-50k per coin, per meme coin that he does, and he does this every week. So every week he's clearing 40-50k of his Patreon, and then people that watch his channel. It's quite fucked up, but that's basically what he does. As if think the leading coin for this RWA cycle will be Bricken. I'm slowly accumulating. I 100% agree with you, bro. I genuinely think Bricken will be one of the biggest RWA coins this cycle, bro. Like, to have this much TVL and have, a decent amount of but they got some big partnerships lined up. They won't release it now just because the hype isn't there. But when the hype comes back, you're going to see some massive partnerships from Bricken. Very big partnerships coming in. And I think anything below 20 cents is something that everyone should look to accumulate because, like I said, when it goes to $1, $2, $3, which is not very, if this goes to the previous all-time high, it's like a 4x away. But price-wise, I think this can easily get to around 400-500 million. Between 3 to 500 million in an RWA season is very possible for Bricken, especially if they get a few more listing, which they said they will. A lot of these RWA coins, one of the things they lack is listing, and these guys do lack that listing. But if you guys watch the AMA, he's in talks with some listings, and a lot of people speculate on listings, but as a project, you cannot tell people if you're listing on any exchange because if you do, it will ruin your chances. So they have to stay quiet until the listings time comes, and then they'll just release it randomly. The exchanges will release it themselves, and then they will release afterwards. So it's all about time, and exchange listing is all about time, and it's never ever, if they can get an exchange listing now, it'll probably pump 20-30%, and then everyone will just dump it back down. But however, if they do in the RWA season, the exchange listing can pump it 10, 5, 6, 7x, and there'll be less selling pressure because FOMO kicks in. But this is very, very good RWA coin. I think StateX as well should be on the list as well. And the reason I say StateX is the team knows how to market. Very, very bullish because marketing is one of the key compartments in crypto. And if the team knows how to market a project, and they got the backers to prove it. So these guys have the CEO of Remax, which is hundreds of millions of dollars of a company. The CEO of that project has become the CEO of Web2 in Remax. They got a bunch of big KOLs, celebrities. They got the products, the listings, whatever it is, right? They have everything. and they're slowly going to bring out more and more listings, more and more products that they're building or they have built. And they got I think the most important one is the launchpad. I think that's going to be a game changer in the RWA space. We have never had an RWA specific launchpad, and that's what they're trying to build. Still believing in Chirply. Could this mistaken? I'm still believing in Chirply, my friend. I think it'll do well. It's just very niche, but as a low cap, they're still working and they got some good ties. Chirply has some decent ties. For memes, Pepe, Bonk seems to like decent. Yeah, they're pretty good. Like they're safe ones. Pepe and Bonk are quite safe. Migos and Turbo are also very good. Yes. So for Ethereum, Turbo is very good. And for base, Migos is very good because Migos has yet to be listed on Coinbase, and there's at some point I think it will. The chances are unlikely. I don't think we'll have an extended cycle. Very unlikely. Why am I in September being a weak month for this cycle when FOMC rate cuts? Because what could happen, Bossman, is because now everyone kind of knows that rate cuts are coming. 9 times out of 10, when the rate cut comes, you're going to see a sell-off because everyone knows. It's like sell the news event. Happens all the time. You pump leading up and then you dump after the news is announced. So very, very simple, bro. It's like every single crypto aspect does it. Like if you hear a massive partnership come in, the token pumps in anticipation, and then once the partnership is announced, unless it's some crazy partnership, it will just always dumps afterwards because people sell, they take their profits, and then they buy back again lower. That's how normally it works. So I think we'll probably pump in the first half of September, and then leading up to FOMC, I do think there's going to be a little sell-off. But I think end of the year will still be bullish in my opinion. Near super. Should I move to RWA coins considering? I definitely think you should pick up some RWA coins. Definitely. Everyone should have at least 2 RWA coins in a portfolio, bro. It's right now in crypto, it's not only the most talked about thing, it's the only place that's getting mass adopted right now in crypto. Mass adopted. There's bank CEOs coming out saying tokenization is like, early days of internet or whatever you want to call it. That's how early tokenization is, and that's the next step in the financial system. I think tokenization and stable coins. So that's I think tokenization is going to be massive this year. I think it will be something like an AI agent of last year, but in RWA. I think RWA will be the big narrative this year. I think Treb first modular VDEX on looks very promising. Yeah, Treb is not that bad, my friend, for base. Treble is not bad for base. TVL is pretty decent. So TVL to market cap is fairly decent. But I don't think this is bad. I don't know what's been happening to it. It looks like it's been dumping non-stop. 37% down. Yeah, I think I think it can do okay. $725. What the fuck? No one's interested in this. They need to increase the volume a bit, and mainly because this is a problem with like coins that specifically have no dexes. I mean, they don't have any centralized exchanges. Is if let's say you're retail, most retail don't know how to buy on dexes. They buy on centralized exchanges, so that's very important as well. I don't think most people are going to buy this shit. If Chase Shaw, why has Tet's been pumping? All AI greatest tech miracle of our lifetime. I'm actually going to buy a bit more, bro. It is, you can always trade Tet now. I mean, but I hold it long term. I think August they'll turn it around. At the moment, it's only 15 million in cap, bro. It's fucking undervalued as fuck. People are dumping. I think people are getting frustrated, which is fine by me, bro. I'll just accumulate a bit more and I'll wait. I don't mind waiting. Some people don't have the patience. I have the patience, bro. Just because, like, if 99% of your portfolio is pumping and a few isn't, or I don't care about the degen coins just because they don't really affect my portfolio, bro. Like, they're insignificant. But if 90% of your portfolio is pumping and one coin isn't, it's okay. My portfolio is still going up despite OORT slightly dumping. But I think in August they will turn it around, in my opinion. I think they will definitely turn it around. I'm helping them with the marketing, bro. I'm getting some decent KOLs on board. It just takes a bit of time. Why is tech pumping? I don't know, actually. Just be careful with tech, bro. I've seen some fucking videos of the CEO looking to get the token pumped so he can exit his position. Oh, I would be very, very careful. I did see some clips of I don't know if it's real or not. Could be all noise, but I did see some clips of the CEO saying something stupid shit like, I don't know if it's real or not. I need to look into it though. But anyways, guys, drop a like if you haven't already done so. I will be very, very active from now on my YouTube channel, just because the market's starting to pick up. It's the end of the year as well. Hold on, let me see. What do I think about StateX? It went from 10 to 16 overnight, and the team said they increased supply by 300 million. Is this true? I wasn't aware of this actually. If the token starts to dump, then it would be a red flag. Yes, 100%. If the supply has gone up and the token is dumping, then I would be concerned. If the token is not dumping, then I would not be concerned, no. And the reason I would not be concerned is because you need tokens for liquidity, first of all. And if they're going to get more listings, then very, very likely they need those tokens. That's the thing, like it depends. Like I said, if the tokens only dumping is a major red flag. Major red flag. But so far, it doesn't look like they're really dumping it, if you know what I'm saying. So we'll see. Time will tell. If this starts to just continuously dump, I'll get out of my position, because increasing the supply randomly, which would and you're not generating revenue, means only one thing, that you're only increasing the supply to dump the tokens. So let's see over the next month. If the token pumps, it's fine. Doesn't really matter, does it? If the token's dumping, then that is a red flag, Nazi. But at the moment, I'll speak to the team. I wasn't even aware of this, to be honest. I was not aware of this. Oh, for marketing. Yeah, so you guys can see the increases for marketing. Yeah, so they increased for marketing purposes. Yeah, I would be pissed as well. People were pissed in the Telegram. They didn't tell anyone. Yeah, that's weird, that is, I'll be honest. Don't know why the fuck they've done that. I would wait for it to bottom out. But the thing with StateX is just explodes randomly. So waiting too long, if you don't have a position, maybe if it goes down to 15, 16 cents. Right now the support is at 16 cents. So wait. If you can hold the 16-cent region, then I would DCA in. If it goes below, then it can always come back down to these previous lows down here. So, I would personally wait, maybe get like 20-30% in, and then from there, that way, if it pumps, you don't feel FOMO, and if it comes down, you can always DCA in. But I need to look into this, Nazi. Thank you for letting me know, bro. Not sure if you rate his analysis, but DP Crypto didn't like StateX. Bro, his analysis was dog shit, bro. This was like the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, one of his analysis was for marketing or whatever it was for. He said something like, why is the reason to have KOLs? Like, what's the connection with KOLs? Since when do you need a reason to have KOLs? I'll be honest with you, his analysis was fucking dog shit. It's like, I don't know if bot did something to him, or but the analysis was terrible. And I did speak about this in my private group. The reason, he rated, like, this is how stupid and biased some of this analysis is, right? He gave Lumia, another RWA coin that he liked. He gave Lumia a 10 out of 10 for engagement, right? 10 out of 10 for Twitter and engagement, but he gave StateX only a 3 out of 10 or 2 out of 10 or something stupid, right? Let's just compare the engagement for what's it called? This is engagement for Lumia, right? We're proud for partners, whatever. Look at the fucking engagement: 6K views, 100 likes, and 36. And this is posted a few days ago, right? So you can't say it's been 3 days now. In 3 days, how much are you really going to get? So it's, yeah, the average between 6 to 7K views. Let's look at StateX. Let's compare engagement on Twitter, because he gave one 10 and the other a very low score. So let's compare. Look at this. This was posted on the 1st of August, right? So no excuses, the same day. Look at the engagement. This has 111K views, 800 likes, and 245 reposts. So how is this, how is one getting a 10 out of 10 for Twitter, and the other one's getting a 3? So he's a very biased and weird, type of. There was some truth to his analysis, but some of the like exchange listings were, was terrible. It's retarded. It does not make sense. Like, look at the volume on Lumia. Lumia is higher market cap. The volume is 3 million. So you look at, and this is, keep in mind, look at the exchange listings that Lumia is listed on. The volume should be way higher. Binance, Mex, he's basically got way more listings, and he's got a tier 1 listing. Whereas you look at StateX, has the same volume, lower market cap, but has way more less listings. Not the only tier 1 they have is Kraken. That's it. It's very, very biased and weird, analysis. I did not like his analysis on this one. It was very, very weird. Did not make any sense to me. Like, how can you give Lumia, a 10 out of 10 for Twitter, but then StateX gets a lot more views and a lot more, has a bigger community? So I did not like his analysis, my friend. It was weird. When you see old season happening, you mentioned in a few days he wants to be out of the market and the Q3. Don't want to be out of the markets. I'll probably take some off the table, but I would not be fully out of the markets. Yeah, I would take it. You gotta keep in mind he's doing an analysis on a first look perspective. If he does a deep dive and looks into it properly, it's a different story. But you can't really learn something just based on a website. You have to listen to community AMAs. You have to listen to etc. So he is doing it on a first look perspective, which is fair. You're never ever gonna know how good a token is on first look perspectives. Like, he didn't even know that 75% or 70% of all early investor tokens for StateX is locked up for a minimum of 8 years. So there's not, even when the token unlock start, there's not going to be much selling pressure, because 70% of those early investors have staked their tokens for a total of 8 years. Some even staked for 20 years, which is crazy. But there's crazy people in crypto. But from a first look perspective, I agreed with some stuff and disagreed with some other stuff. That's why I would say. I said that months ago, bro. I said it like a month ago. The market changes every week, my friend. What I said a month ago, 2 months ago, is not going to be the same as my perspective now, because more data comes out, things change. Something I said a month ago, 2 months ago, don't take it serious to what I'm saying today and tomorrow or the next week. It's hard to say. Like, as new data comes out, as the macros develop differently or changes, your perspective is also going to change. Your perspective is never going to stay the same throughout the months, because everything changes. I would definitely I will update you guys as we go along. Like, we'll take it 1 week at a time. I don't like doing predictions 4 or 5 months down the line, because it's just, the chances of any of that happening is like 5%, if not less. If you go 1 week at a time, you'll know what happened. Like, for example, last week when I went live, I said, if we cannot break out of this structure, which we didn't, the very likely chance of us coming down here is very likely to see 111 to 113. And that's exactly what played out. That's 1 week at a time. So the next time I go live, depending on what Bitcoin is, and we can predict the next move, I do think if we cannot break above 115K over here, this place over here, then very likely we'll come and put in a double bottom, if not slightly a lower low, maybe down here at the highs of 110 to 109. is a possibility. It's not off the cards. If we break above and hold above 115k, then we'll most likely will break the structure because we've tapped once, twice, three. On the fifth time, it always breaks. Just like over here, how many times did it take for Bitcoin to hit, this structure? So it took once, twice, three on the over here. Sorry, no, it's not over here. This over here. Sorry, fucking hell, Bitcoin's been once, twice, three, four. On the fourth time, fifth time, once, twice, three, four, five. It took actually the sixth time for it to break through in 2024. 2024. So, we have to move 1 week at a time. 1 week at a time. You can't really predict months in advance. Whatever I said a month ago, take it with a grain of salt. Everything changes. The macro changes. The market changes. We have to move 1 week at a time. Victor, good to see you, bro. How you been? Anyways, guys, appreciate the consistent support on the channel. I will be live again, maybe twice this week as well. I'll be doing regular videos, macro videos, and then maybe some tier lists as well. I do need to update some of the tier lists, and then we can move from there. So enjoy the rest of your day, guys. The weekend, it is 9 p.m. over here in the UK. Ross just came in as I'm about to get off. Ross, good to see you, buddy. But yeah, I am getting off now, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. Tier list, yeah? I'll make a tier list first, don't worry. I'll update all the tier lists again. Delario, good to see you as well, bro. How you been? But yeah, drop a like on your way out, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night or whatever you find. It could be morning for you guys. But yeah, have a good one, guys. Enjoy. Bye-bye.